get your motivator, gotta get your way. So sick of saying yes sir, yes sir.
What we do with JustMyMemphis, we're basically digital publishing. So we create these digital magazines for organizations like them and Mid-South Food Bank. And we're giving them a way to extend their message so that people can celebrate their success stories and see the positive things that are going on. So you're like on the cover this month of the JustMyMemphis, and we'll take this interview and put it on their next magazine as well. And so it's pretty amazing to meet you. Congratulations.
A lot of amazing things.
Your book has done really well. You've done lots of interviews. As you go out and you're talking about the book and about what you do, what is the message that you want people to go away with?
I think the big message is, I think the fact that the book has received, media exposure and stuff has been wonderful, and it's done well in sales, which is great. But the real message, the important message of all this, is that I wanted it to be a much larger call to action. I wanted people to understand how thin that line is between our life and someone else's life. And sometimes if we're not willing to explore it, and we watch tragedies happen, and there's nothing that we do besides kind of stick our heads in the sand and act like it didn't happen in the first place, then we're just doomed to continue letting tragedies continue to happen. And so the thing that has been most inspiring throughout this whole process has actually been the service projects that we've seen around the country in different places. The fact that we watch college students, actually moving the needle, making a demonstrable difference inside their college community. That stuff has been incredibly inspiring. High school students all over the country. That was the point. That was a larger point of this entire process.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Now, when you, like today, you spoke to business owners. What's your, if you sat down with one business owner today and you said, this is what I want you to do with this information, what would you say to them?
I'd say, first, just having the fundamental understanding that we are not just in a community, but we are other communities, and that the community will rise and or fall, depending on not just how the businesses are doing, but it's how the entire community is doing. It's the thing that quite honestly, makes areas most attractive. If a business is considering relocating to an area, there are a couple of questions that they'll always ask. How are the schools? Is it a safe area? Because if a business is looking to relocate to an area, they're worried about their employees. They're worried about is there a workforce that I can employ there? So if a business owner is making sure that the community is strong, is essential, not just for their business model, but for their entire business. And the second thing I would say is, it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all equation. Find the area that you are most passionate about. Find the area that your employees are most passionate about, and that's what you attack. Whether it's youth, whether it's seniors, whether it's the environment, whether it's veterans, whether it's animals, whatever it is, find your issue and attack it with everything you've got, and that's the way we're actually going to be able to address the change.
There was another point about your story that I was really impressed with, and I'm from a single parent. So my mom works 2 jobs, taking care of 2 kids, and so anytime I see a single parent doing something and accomplishing it, I want to get that message out. But you noted in the book, and you heard in one of your interviews as well as here, you talked about the fact that when you got sent to military school, you were there, you're running away and everything, and you got that phone call. You got 5 minutes to talk to your mom, and your mom basically said, tell us what she said.
First, she was tired of hearing me complain about how much I hated that place. And then she stopped me and she said, you've got to understand that there are a lot of people who are rooting for you. And there are a lot of people who love you and want you to do well and have sacrificed for you. But you also have to understand it's not all about you. It's not all about you. And I think what she was trying to say by that was, I kept on personalizing everything, internalizing everything, acting like how this is some kind of snub against me. And she said, this is not about you. And you've got to stop thinking that the world needs to bow at your beck and call, or people are going to just respond simply because you ask them to. There's a time for growth. There's a time for development, and that time is now. And I think that was the point that she was trying to make, is that, listen, I understand you might not like it here right now. But right now, this is time for you to grow up, and this is time for you to stop running. Again, I don't think I fully paid much attention to her when she said it at that moment, because my actions didn't improve overnight. But eventually, I began to get a better understanding of what she was talking about. And in many ways, that was the thing that helped me all the difference.
I think one of the amazing things about your mom is that she actually put you through private school. at one point before sending you to the military.
There was a sliding slope that I was on where she kept on trying different schools, trying different programs. You're right. Eventually, she sent me before I got sent away. She sent me to a private school, and she worked same thing as your mom. And I'm with you. I mean, the respect and love I have for single mom. I don't know how they do it, quite honestly. But my mother was literally working 3 different jobs to pay for me to go to this private school because she thought that maybe that's the answer. Maybe I just need to get him out of this neighborhood school and get him to a private school. And when I did not do well at all in that private school, that's when she said, all right, well, maybe I'll try military school. But my mother, she just kept on trying. She kept on fighting and trying to figure out, okay, we're going to make this work. It might take a little while, but we're going to figure this out.
Here in the Memphis area, we have a lot of single parents. There are a lot of moms and dads that are trying to raise kids, trying to take their kids, and there's a lot of excuses as to why they can't get things done. What would you say because you're a good example of what happens when a parent stays committed, what would you say to parents that are trying to raise a child on their own?
Well, first thing I'd say, we need to make sure that we're not underestimating the challenges that single parents face. This is raising kids with 2 parents is very complicated. I mean, I look at my daughter. I have a 15-month-old daughter, and she's got a wonderful mother. She's got 2 grandmothers that dote over her. She's got aunts and uncles and cousins, and I'm still nervous, and I'm still scared. So I think about that mother who is doing it on her own, or that father who's doing it on their own. So I think first it's important to remember that we're not underestimating the challenges that they face. But the thing I would say to them is this: there are a tremendous amount of supports and people who want to help who are out there. And that's one thing my mother did really well. Is my mother was never afraid to ask for help. If she thought that there was someone who could help her son, she was going to reach out to you. If she thought that this person, she met somebody and like, wow, you could be a good mentor to my son, best believe she was following up with you and she was telling you about her son, and she was saying, here's how I would like for you to help him. So I think the key thing is it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. Everyone understands it. In fact, people want to be there to support. So we just need to make sure we're doing a good job as a community, helping single parents understand where the help and supports are, and then helping the single parents understand that it's perfectly okay to reach out to them. That's why we're here, and that's the support that we want to give.
Thanks for that. That's a great answer. I want to ask one last question. When I was excited about doing this interview with you because when I see you speak, you're a very dynamic speaker. You tend to make people want to take action. 4 years ago, the president was running for office, and he ran on a campaign of change. And now every once in a while you hear people mock that, saying, how is that change thing working out for you? And this isn't a political statement. I personally think people miss the point of change. I don't think it was the president saying, I want to change the world. I think he was inviting other people to make changes. And your life is an example of how you take who you are and you make a difference to other people. In closing, what would you say to other people hearing the small interview that we're doing? What would you say to them as far as how do you take that message of change and apply it to yourself as an individual?
Well, first I want to say this is not a small interview. I'm really excited to do this. And the other thing I would say is, I think Mahatma Gandhi said it best when he said, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." And I think you're right. I think that's what the president at that time, candidate Obama, was asking for. Just simply saying, I am not the change that you're looking for. You are the change that you've been hoping for. We all have a responsibility to do that. In fact, in many ways, I see people who sometimes will mock the idea of change, or hope, not just in political terms, but just like, nothing can change. And I feel like they also have a tendency to do this, where it's like, if there's a problem, it's always pointing fingers as to who's responsible for it. Oh, that's the mayor's fault, or that's the governor's fault, or that's the Senate's fault, or that's the Congress's fault, or that's the president's fault, or that's whoever's fault. Without everyone thinking, but what's my responsibility to actually forge real change, not just in my life, but in the life of my entire community? And the thing I always say to people is like, listen, even if you're not going to do it, even if you're not going to push for genuine change in the lives of others, if you're not going to do it because you want to be selfless, do it because you're selfish. Because fact is, our entire community is better, and your life will be better if your community is stronger. So if you don't want to do it because you don't want to be altruistic or be selfless, that's perfectly fine. But you know what? If you live in a community where your children can't walk down the street and feel safe, If you're living in a community where you have to send your kids all the way across town because the schools in your area are not strong, if you live in a community where when you're thinking about your son or your daughter and their potential mates later on in life, and you have a situation like in Baltimore, we have communities in Baltimore where we're literally 40% of the population have had some type of involvement in the criminal justice system. How are you making life better for your children? How are you making life better for yourself? If you're not doing it to be selfless, do it to be selfish. Help others, build a better community because it makes your life better.
I appreciate that. Well, I want to thank you for your time. On behalf of Lipscomb and Pitts and the Breakfast Club and Just My Memphis, it's very good to meet you. And keep doing what you do.
Keep doing what you guys are doing. Seriously, Memphis, you guys are a great city and doing some amazing work.
Thank you.